Hello and welcome to Liberty Nation TV with your host, Jeff Charles. The American Civil Liberties Union recently published an op-ed in the New York Times arguing that vaccine mandates, quote, actually further civil liberties, unquote. It seems the organization has gone through quite the evolution over the years. Here to discuss the issue with me is Liberty Nation's own Joe Schaefer. Welcome to the program.
Thanks, Jeff. Good to be here.
Good. Great to have you. So to start with, why don't you kind of give us the rundown on this op-ed that was written by the ACLU? What arguments were they making?
It wasn't a very good argument, to be honest with you. It was pretty transparent what they were doing. They were taking what was once considered, rightly or wrongly, however you want to feel about it, a prestigious civil liberties organization, and they were twisting it to make the idea of mandatory vaccinations as actually be furthering civil rights in America, civil liberties in America. On its face, it's a crazy argument. But that's the intent, actually. The intent is to push envelopes to do these things. And their argument, if you want to say what it was, is that the vaccinated, those who are vaccinated have rights from not being infected by the unvaccinated. That's the medical line here. It's sort of similar to the abortion protests, if you think about it, where you would think the ACLU, which has never really defended the rights of pro-life protesters, they've been putting them in their little boxes for years. And their argument, of course, is that abortion is a civil liberty. And of course, that is key to the progressive social agenda. So they are willing to cancel pro-lifers' civil liberties in the name of abortion. This is them doing something similar in the name of health vaccination, and they get to call it civil liberties.
Gotcha. Now, this argument I've been hearing a lot. I mean, it seems like one of the main arguments people are making in favor of mandatory vaccines. They essentially say, oh, well, we have the right to not be infected by you. Or, we have vaccinations for polio and other things so your kids can go to school. What's your response to those arguments?
I just wrote for another publication about Julia Kayan, who is a former Obama assistant secretary in Homeland Security. Harvard professor. She's on CNN all the time. She is one of the most aggressive pro-mandatory vaccine advocates. She wants to take away your ability to fly if you don't get the vaccine. And she constantly says, she goes on TV, she writes this, she says, I am tired of dealing with these people's feelings. I don't care how you feel about your liberty. We're tired of it, that you're threatening my health. So when you're dealing with that kind of an emotional response by supposed adults, this is a former assistant secretary in Homeland Security saying, you know what, I'm tired of your feelings about your liberty. This is where we are in America today. This is very, very dangerous. And this is why I focused on the ACLU article, the National Legal Director, David Cole. He is in this network, this nexus that Julia Kayan in Harvard is in. He was a Georgetown law professor. This is a key point I'd like to make up. In the 3 or 4 years I've been writing regularly, I've been here at Liberty Nation since 2018, you would be surprised, or I was surprised, how often the name Georgetown University comes up in the swamp. Atlantic Council, Council of Foreign Relations, all those people, that network. After Harvard and Yale, I would say Georgetown University is number 3 in terms of universities with those swamp connections, those swamp ties. And you have to take that into consideration. This ruling apparatus wants mandatory vaccines. David Cole, National Legal Director of the ACLU, is part of that apparatus.
Yeah, that's not surprising. And when you were talking, that argument sounded a lot like what we had Arnold Schwarzenegger say, screw your freedoms, get the vaccine. For the ACLU, especially to come out like this, is just indicative of how they've evolved. I mean, and what I've always said is that sometimes they get it right. I mean, sometimes they get things right, but in other ways they get it wrong. So why don't you talk to us a little bit about how they have evolved over the years from what they used to be?
Yeah, it is interesting because there is a price to pay for this. I personally had never bought into the ACLU. I always thought they were part of a progressive social agenda, but I have to admit they had a nice reputation for themselves carved out. They would be right a certain amount of times, like you said, and that was very good for their reputation. But if you really think about it, were they really taking on the causes that were a threat to the ruling establishment? Like I said, with the pro-lifers, anti-abortion, that is a strong movement. So you're not going to see the ACLU really championing the right of pro-life protesters because that threatens the establishment. David Dukes and Ku Klux Klansmen, in the 1990s when they have no influence anymore, that's really not threatening the establishment. So to me, but I will admit they had that reputation, and this is the important thing to me. Once you take that money, in 2016, this Trump thing came along, this reaction to Donald Trump. It was a money machine for organizations like the ACLU. Progressives dearly wanted to paint Donald Trump as an existential threat to America. So you get the American Civil Liberties Union to call him a threat to the civil liberties of Americans. Just shake that money machine. It's coming. And they went from, I think I wrote in the article, I have the exact figures, $4 or $5 million in donations to $120 million. This is what Trump did for them. So 400,000 members, I think it went up fourfold, fivefold. He was a boon for them, but it comes at such a price. You will lose that reputation that you had. That I won't call it sterling, but very good reputation for them as being a champion of the little guy. You can't claim that anymore once you go down this path. It's sort of like CNN. People forget CNN was very respected for a while there. They made cable news respectable. Bernie Shaw, those days. That's all gone. Once you go in that Trump derangement syndrome, you just go crazy like CNN did. You lose that Bernie Shaw cachet that you had, and you're never going to get it back. So the ACLU, they're flushing cash. They're in with the ruling regime, but they've lost that reputation, and they'll never, ever get it back.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, and I think the CNN analogy is apt here because you're right. CNN used to be more respected, and then they went full activist mode. I call them the activist media. So, but with this whole thing with vaccine mandates, where do you see this debate going? I know if you had a crystal ball, I know it's impossible to predict the future, but if you had a crystal ball, where do you think this is going to go?
Oh, it's going to get ugly. It's going to get much worse. I think you're going to see this country being more and more divided. The blue progressive areas, just like you look at an electoral map, they're going to be all in on these social curves. And you have these like freedom areas where they're not going to be like this. And then what do you do with travel between these areas and stuff? Are these blue counties going to be, ban people from, red states from coming, to them because they don't want to be infected by the unvaccinated? I think it's going to get really crazy. I think the employer mandates are going to go through the roof. And the pressure campaign is on, and organizations like the ACLU, that op-ed was so silly in so many ways, but they're making the message clear that if you are unvaccinated, no one's going to be in your corner fighting for you. The people that's an important thing. They want to isolate you. They want to make you fringe extremists. So to have the ACLU say, oh, no, making you get a jab actually is civil liberties. It's a way to present being unvaccinated as being extremist. And I would say even the words domestic terrorists in some ways are going to eventually be applied to people who won't get a vaccine. It's crazy, but I really do think we're going in that ugly direction.
Yeah, it sure seems like I wish I could disagree with you. I wish I could disagree with you and say that it'll get better, but I think you're right. I think it'll get worse before it gets better. But I mean, we'll be here shining the light on it. But thank you very much for joining me, Joe. I really appreciate it.
I enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And remember, this show is proudly sponsored by LibertyNation.com, where you can access podcasts, breaking news and analysis, and a range of biting and brilliant shows to whet your appetite for freedom and your fondness for the great American Constitution. Just go to LibertyNation.com on your browser or hit Rumble, YouTube, or check out our Liberty Nation News Roku channel. I'm Jeff Charles. Thanks for watching. This program is a production of LibertyNation.com, conservative news where truth matters.
Who are we? We are Americans that believe in liberty. We are a project of the nonprofit One Generation Away. We are patriots who apply the founding principles to the issues of today.
And they keep moving the goalposts on us.
We are educators and commentators who love America and the Constitution. Who are we? We are Liberty Nation.